pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could just remain standing for a moment, I always like to just list those that have passed since our last meeting. I have a few tonight, which is sad. So we have Wilbur Lewis, and I usually don't make comments, but Wilbur was a good guy. Family man, a Christian, a community person, born and raised here, and spent decades in the fire department. So it's a loss. We have Jean Flynn. Jean Flynn was Mayor Flynn's mother. Richard Tracy. I grew up with Richie Tracy. Another person lives just up on the hill here, Dee Humbry. Just a very nice lady. And last, but I made it last, is Roxanne Dunnery. We all know Roxanne was a fighter for this community and will be missed. So if we could just remember those folks and our military. Thank you. Okay, if I could have a motion to pay bills and claims for fiscal year 22-2023. Again, you know our budget goes till May 31 of this year. $392,514.59. Motion to pay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think these minutes, there's 3 sets. I think some of us were absent, so I'll do them individually. If I could have a motion, I read these minutes after they were done. I find no fault. I find no errors. We had a regular meeting on the 5th of December 2022. May I have a motion?
So a motion. Second.
Gary and Jim, a roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Alward?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of a special meeting on December the 27th, 2022?
So moved.
Jim, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Brian. Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
I abstained, I wasn't there.
Trustee Alward?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
I'm sorry. Yes, motion carried. May I have a motion for another special meeting on the 3rd of January, 2023?
Make a motion.
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Again, abstained, sorry, holidays.
Trustee Alward?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you very much. Honorable Chair. I'm only going to open that up to those 2 items. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Thank you. The fire department did its annual reorganization. They have folks down there that run for different positions, from chief down to lieutenant, and of course others, the administrative side, from the president all the way down to property officer. But it's the duty of the village board to approve the firematic officers per the vote of the firemen themselves. I would ask the board to approve the fire chief, Eric Smith, assistant fire chief, Patrick Kelly, Captain Stephen Suarez, First Lieutenant Nicholas Rush, and Second Lieutenant Alexandria Lennon. And Deputy Chief John, they're out of order, Deputy Chief John Rush. If I could have a motion to approve, is it approved or?
Recognize.
Recognize, yeah, because it's not up to us to approve. Recognize the firematic officers for 2023.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, continuing with the fire department, the fire chief, Eric Smith, requests to surplus equipment. I sent you his 2-page items about the fire department from membership to apparatus, but you'll see on page 2, declare surplus. It's things that they just don't need any longer, from lights to thermal imaging cameras to metal toolbox to a portable air compressor, down to different size hoses, et cetera, et cetera. So it would be good tonight if he's saying this stuff is surplus, so we need to go with that and approve him surplusing these items.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Guerrero, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. I met with the fire chief last Thursday, I think it was, Thursday or Friday, I can't remember. And it was a good meeting. These papers he gave me that day, and we had we met for an hour and we talked a lot about membership, which is down, and we talked about the other item, which is something I've been telling the board we have to zero in on, and that's the apparatus. We have 2 pumpers down there. One is 22 years old and one is 25. And so I told the chief to go ahead and start to do homework on requesting to the village board a truck to replace one of those old ones. And so he's requesting to form a committee to specify a replacement for a fire engine, which is a 1995 rescue truck. He doesn't need, may I look at the village clerk? He doesn't need approval to form a committee. I'm letting him know he can form the committee. Okay? If that's okay with the board? Okay? So I'll convey that to him tomorrow.
How much do those usually run?
You don't want to know.
$500,000?
Oh, every bit. Yeah, every bit.
Well, the fire department is really run by volunteers. They've been very,
Yep.
the leadership has been very fiscally conservative. They cost about less than 3% of the entire village board budget. So I think 28-year-old truck,
Yeah,
I'm glad that they're planning.
yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, the next two items, and they're out of sync. We're going to do there's 2 resolutions. I'm going to do the second resolution first. I will open, a little different than normal, I will open it to the public if they want to make a comment. I have the village attorney here, which is involved with the village on cell, but I have here, and you've seen him here before, the village has hired this gentleman over here, Clint Smith. He's an expert on cell towers, and I've asked him to come tonight, and he's here. So if anyone wants to make a comment right now, again, I'm going to stress a comment. It won't be a back and forth, but a comment. You can make it now, or you can wait till after the presentation and make your comment then. But it'll be a one-time shot. Is there anyone who wants to make a comment now?
A presentation about the cell tower?
Well, I'm not how do you explain it? Not exactly that. Yeah, if you have a comment, you can make it now.
About anything, Jeff?
About cell.
About the wireless
Yes.
facility.
Yeah.
I know you got a letter from Deborah Cofall, so a lot of us are here in support of postponing the
Bobby,
vote.
yeah, I'm sorry. You have to come up here, hon. I'm sorry. People at home.
So I have a couple of letters here. I don't believe, I don't know if you got it from Youth Baseball,
Mhm.
and they are asking you to postpone it. It's from the whole committee, Town of Highlands Little League, and there's several names on this. No one's against cell towers. The postponement is because you have waived many, well, I guess I could read some of this to you. So here's a letter that I have from Jill Rahong. I don't have my glasses. She's West Point Nuclear Engineering.
Wow.
She lives on Oak Avenue. She has a PhD from MIT. She's asking Mayor D'Onofrio and the Highland Falls Board, please postpone the cell phone tower vote tonight to give residents more time to learn, excuse me, about the proceedings and proposed arrangements for the tower construction. I'd like to echo the Little League's calls for periodic electromagnetic radiation leasing to be incorporated into the tower's operational contract. Thank you. So basically, being waived, any radiation, any testing for it, we all feel that it's not in our best interest of not only those around, but in the immediate area. I believe you have a 25-year contract. They'd like to make it 5 years so that they can pull these tests if there's any radiation leaks or people are getting sick or for whatever. If not, this is great, then we'll all enjoy the cell tower. But right now, a lot of people have a lot of questions, so I don't know how many people are here, but everybody I speak to is for a cell tower, but they're afraid how close of proximity is to the residents, the children. We don't know yet with what's going to happen with that. So that's basically
Okay.
what they're asking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this point?
Do I have to come up, Joe?
I would like you to, but I understand if you can't.
I'll
In
just-
fact, just sit there.
It'll take.
No, just sit there.
And I got a big mouth.
I got you. Yeah.
So, you know, there's a new church that is built right down there.
For the record, who's...
Sharon,
Oh, I'm
say,
sorry, Sharon Guy here.
Sharon,
Are you
Guy,
recording tonight? Oh,
It's
I
being
thought-
recorded.
I didn't think you were recording tonight. Anyway, I talked to some of the people from the church, you know, the bishop and the president and all that, and I had told them that what was going on, and they said that they didn't have time right now to put it together, something, because everybody's just coming back from the holiday. But they were very upset to learn about it, and they also asked me to voice their concern
Okay.
about putting off the vote until they
Thank
can
you.
do some more research into it as well.
Do you know what the vote is for?
The vote is to either waive the environmental survey, is that right? That's what I'm to understand? And that you were gonna go ahead and give them the okay to build it there?
No, it's okay. No, it isn't. The
Okay,
answer
so
to that is
tell
no.
me.
No, I can't.
Tell us all.
I shouldn't have had, I'm gonna keep moving.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyone else at this point? Yes.
I wanted,
Oh,
is this the end of public comment?
3 minutes, Deborah.
Well, you got my memo, I want to bring your attention to another issue, which is all of the verbiage, excuse me, I'm out of breath, in the Monroe Factors resolution talks about capacity, the purported study that was done. So we have de minimis capacity when there's a game at West Point, which is not that often, but, again, sorry, I'm really out of breath. The Flower Hill case, Extonet v. Flower Hill, is very clear, and that was from the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, that capacity constraints are not a reason to say, under the Telecom Act, to say that there's a need for something. And the concept there is very simply that just because somebody wants to do more stuff on their smartphone, that's a capacity issue. That's not the same as having a gap in coverage. There's not one document that was presented that showed an actual gap in phone coverage. And when you're talking about capacity, that is not a reason that you can use to say that, you know, for an exemption on the Monroe Factors, or for a reason to approve something. I'm going to stick with my written comments about the procedural problems, because as I've expressed to you, that the Monroe Factors needed to be done first, not jerry-rigged the way you did it with the October 3rd resolution that made it so that you would do it after the fact, is that the town, which had no business to begin with, having a conditional resolution approving the facility, could have and should have considered other matters, including radiation, including having radiation near the ball fields, and that should have in fact been part of the Monroe factors consideration. Again, the way you've done it, so that you're going to vote on SECR first, and then the Monroe factors, which is improper, precludes consideration at that point. My law is on point. You can decide you're going to go ahead and do it anyway. I stick with what I said. I don't appreciate your snorting, Mayor. Now,
Because what you're saying is inaccurate, but don't waste, I don't want to waste your time. Keep going.
no, you are wasting everybody's time because it is absolutely accurate.
Keep going.
It is not an action. You had no business in the whole purpose of your defining it in the resolution as an action was to jerry-rig the process to do SECR first. If you're going to do SECR and then exempt the town, you can't be an involved agency under SECR. If you've exempted the town from the law, then there's no law, you are no longer an involved agency, and you cannot weigh in on SECR. And the whole purpose of the October 3rd resolution was to jerry-rig it. And when you talk about the jerry-rigging, the town should not have assigned you to be lead agency, because they would have no way of knowing whether you're going to exempt them after the fact or not. So it's putting the cart before the horse.
Okay, you're
But
3 minutes
pursuant-
plus, you
I'm
have
gonna
3
finish
minutes
my
plus,
sentence.
no,
I'm gonna finish my
next,
sentence.
no.
That you are not, that you cannot be lead agency under any
Thank you.
scenario,
Thank you,
and you have no involvement
thank you,
once you've exempted the town.
thank you very much.
The law is clear.
Thank you very much, thank you very much. Okay, if there's no one else, is there anyone else? Okay, let's move on.
I have a comment.
Okay,
Ned Koval.
well, please come up here, Mr. Copal. 3 minutes.
When the village passed either a local law approximately a year ago, making sure that cell towers would not be established in recreational areas, particularly in parks. They gave recognition to the potential harm to users and particularly children, but all citizens. Although the proposed 65-foot tower is not in the park, it is in such close proximity to that which you wanted to protect in the resolution that I point out to. We have a Little League field right down in the bonnet below where this tower is going to be established. While, as Bobby Fallon mentioned, almost all persons recognize the need for some method to enable communications, and that includes towers. The location of this tower is ill-advised for the reason I indicated, but in addition, behind the Little League field is acreage that was given to the village and was intended to be used for parkland and other recreational usage. Nothing, unfortunately, has been done with it, as should have been done, but this will further impact in a very negative and dangerous manner that any planning for that acreage that was provided from the Rodway family. In addition, our town is basically bankrupt from additional construction and planning because we don't have land. We don't have a tax base.
Mr. Coppola, 3 minutes are up.
May I just take another 30 seconds, please? Just to the south is a large parcel of land, undeveloped, that could be developed in the future, that could bring about additional tax revenue to make it less burdensome on our existing taxpayers. Persons are not going to develop that
Thank
land.
you, Mr. Coppola, that's 3.5 minutes. Thank you, thank you. Is there anyone else before I move on the agenda? Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution granting negative declaration pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Is there anything that from the village attorney or from our consultant?
I would just note that the only agency authorized to exempt anybody from the zoning law is the village board. Therefore, as a matter of law, you are the lead agency, and no other agency could be lead agency. So I would just note that for the record. I would also note that this seeker analysis is specific to the Monroe balancing test. And in order to determine the Monroe balancing test, this board reviewed and had its experts, including the RF expert, as well as their village engineer, looking over and checking and rechecking everything that was submitted to this board for the purpose of deciding whether or not exempting the town from the village zoning law would be in the best interest of the village. That is the purpose of the second resolution. Whether or not that required a seeker determination, we determined, and I advised you that out of prudence, you should complete seeker before you pass the resolution of exemption. If, in fact, you act tonight, if, in fact, you actually exempt the town, that has not been decided. So essentially what the seeker analysis does and the determination decides this is an unlisted action. It goes through the impacts. Specifically, this is an already developed site. There's no clearing required, etc. So I would recommend that the village board adopt this seeker negative declaration tonight. Also, if you exempt the town from your zoning, that will simply allow the town to move forward. If they decide to do anything, you will be an interested agency, and you will be allowed to comment on anything you find as you watch their process as they go through perhaps their own seeker evaluation before they sign the contract or issue any building permits. Okay, so it's not exactly true that you don't have any involvement at all. You are the only agency authorized to be lead agency under the seeker regulations. And because the property is in the village, even though it's owned by the town, you will remain an interested agency.
No, I can't do that. I can't. I want everyone to know one thing, and it needs to be said often. This is a town project, not a village project. We're calling it a tower, it's an antenna. This antenna is going on town property, not village property. The village never met with Verizon to talk about that site at all. Never had a phone conversation, never had a meeting. It's not ours. It's not ours.
But if
It's
you
not
vote
ours.
yes tonight,
No.
it's basically giving them permission
So
to go ahead with the
before us,
project.
you have a resolution having the town,
Well, the resolution before you is a seeker negative declaration. It goes through your analysis based on your own review as well as your consultants and your engineer's review of whether or not the resolution to exempt The resolution to exempt the town, which the town has requested, would have an impact on the land, the water, the air, the plants, the animals, agricultural lands, aesthetic resources, historic and archaeological resources, open space, critical environmental areas, transportation, energy, odor, health, and growth and character of the neighborhood.
Anything from the board?
Yeah, I do have a comment. I'm having difficulty trying to decide on how to vote on this. Okay, I really appreciate that a lot of people are here and that they are participating, because that is what we need. We need people to actually pay attention and to come and to give their opinion. That's just true democracy, right? And I understand what they're trying to do. They're saying that, you know, we need reassurance that this is safe, right? That's what you're asking for. And I think that's why we brought Clint, who's our expert on that, to give us, I know, and there's always going to be a pro and a con from a scientific and medical standpoint, and we're going to keep going back and forth on who's right and who's wrong. But, you know, I don't think what you're asking for is unreasonable. I think you want answers about your health, right? And you're asking to postpone it until you have the right answers.
That's right.
But I think that postponement will just keep going on and on because of what I said about having pros and cons.
There's all kinds of
Okay,
evidence. Suits all
are you
over the
okay?
country.
No, wait a minute, wait a
People are
minute.
getting sued
You know, this-
over
see-
cell towers.
So
It's not the board that's out of control sometimes. Sometimes, I know this board gets criticized, but this is what happened. No one wants to listen.
When trustee Guerrero is
Yeah,
finished,
yeah.
then you can ask for a vote.
Okay.
And then I would suggest that you have your consultant
That's great.
address. Or you can have Clint address now, and then.
No, I got it. When, Trustee Guerrero, when you're done, Mr. DeSalvo wants to talk, and then we'll take a vote.
I
For
do
just
agree,
proceed.
yeah, just for 30 more seconds. I do agree that we should mandate that the contract with the town should be reviewed every 5 years, and that they should mandate radiation testing. I don't think those are unreasonable, and that's what
These
I'm
are
gonna
things that
put
have to
in.
be brought to the town.
But that's the town, not us.
That's their contract. Okay.
I'd like
No,
to
no,
comment
no,
on
go
the
ahead,
second
go ahead,
resolution. I'd
go
like to
ahead.
comment
No,
on
we're
the
not, you're out of order. Go ahead.
Just to reiterate, it's difficult when another municipality in town, asks their neighbor, their other municipal neighbor, to try to work together on something. And in this particular case, we're really trying to address a zoning issue, because the town's gonna have to go through a whole host of stuff to go through their process to put their antenna up. And this is step one for them. But, some folks that come here, we talk about economic development, we talk about, being able to go down the road on your Bluetooth and not drop a call, or, we had a resident or a visitor in the community this weekend, trying to get in touch with her spouse, and it turned into a whole disaster, and they couldn't even make a phone call right on Main Street, and they needed to get in touch with their spouse, like emergency situation. It's a culmination of, you have to be able to put the infrastructure in if you're gonna wanna attract some of the folks that we want to come here. And I agree with the health reasons, but if you go walk through the school, there's more Wi-Fi in the school than there is per square inch than there is in any part of this community. And the kids use it, and even if it's hardwired, it puts off radiation. So, everything gives off radiation, everything. The lights do, your phone does, your car does, and listen, we're not gonna move away from that, but we're approving a zoning issue here. The town still has to go through a whole host of stuff, and I think we're gonna have to ask them a lot of questions, and I think the residents are gonna have to ask them a lot of questions. I have a kid in this community, I agree. I lived next to the ball field half of my life. So, again, we're just moving forward a zoning issue here tonight. We're not approving the antenna.
hold on, I'm sorry.
Okay, may
but
may I have a motion?
No, excuse me.
No,
You
excuse
said-
me, may I have a motion?
No, excuse me,
May
your
I-
lawyer and Jim
Call the
said
police,
something
call
that's
the police,
incorrect.
call the
You're gonna
police.
kick me out, you're gonna,
Call the
you're
police.
going to.
I'm not gonna do
interfere with my
this.
free speech rights
I'm not
and
gonna do
another
this,
lawsuit,
I'm not
Joe.
gonna
You're
do
gonna
this.
lawsuit on this
Deborah,
yourself.
I got all your lawsuits
You
here.
already have.
You have cost
The
this
town-
community tens
It's
of
gonna
thousands
cost
of
you
dollars.
more. The town
The
wants
Copal.
to follow the law, you follow the law.
Okay.
The town has already approved it. You're not just approving a zoning thing. Once you vote this through,
Okay.
because of the
Is that coming up?
error that the town
Okay.
made,
Okay,
You
next on the
already-
agenda is
you
to approve the
already-
resolution.
are approving it without there having been a review of it.
And then.
I'm sorry.
Call for a motion on
Yeah,
this.
on the seeker, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna call for a motion on the seeker adoption, that's all it is.
The determination.
Yep.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Guerrero,
No.
trustee Alward,
Yes.
trustee DeSalvo,
Yes.
trustee Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay, the next on the agenda is is a second resolution pertaining to the cells. The resolution and findings and determination of government immunity from zoning pursuant to section 240-29 of the Village Code. Mr. Smith.
Okay. Okay, speak to the board the whole time? That's-
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yes,
All right.
yes.
Safer that way.
Okay. This is gonna basically be a rehash of what I covered last time I was here, which was a couple months ago. Give a brief background on my history, work, my background as such. I'm a licensed engineer, and I've been practicing engineering for many decades. Previously, as a point, I was director of engineering for 9X Mobile many years ago, which was interesting. I'm an active design engineer. I believe right now I've got 9 books with McGraw-Hill over just discussing wireless engineering. I've got over 160 patents on wireless technology, and like I said, it's been a lot of design work. I've designed systems that are being used by first responders right now, primarily the FirstNet network that you hear about on TV. The primary algorithm was my design, and that was interesting. There's a whole story behind that whole thing, but that's outside of this.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, but beyond that, my role at this point is I've come here and I've reviewed the technical documents I received from Verizon. I've gone through that in fairly lengthy detail, both on a coverage and a capacity point, but it's primarily on a coverage issue that I was looking at more than anything else for the benefit for the community at large, primarily for the village, but for the community at large. And it's a 3-site design that the DPW site is part of. The 3 sites involved, which was an initial plan that was done several years ago. The first site is the Drew Ave site, which is the Senior Citizen Center. That covers the northern part of the village. The site that's going to be built right on top of this building right here covers the central part of the village itself, and the DPW site covers the southern part of the village. That is its objective, is to have 3 sites, because one site couldn't really resolve the whole issue, and the quest was to come up with 3. If 2 could have done it, we would have done it with 2, talking to Verizon, but it turned out 3 was the magic number to get the best performance or the best amount of coverage for the least amount of sites. And a fair amount of engineering went into it, and I think they did a decent job at least trying to present it. Now, with that, I've got a couple pictures and everything else, and as such, maybe be a little easier to show. There's a lot of different frequencies Verizon has, and can you see this? Okay, never show at times, very easily. Oh, sorry. this here, this shows, Verizon operates in a lot of different frequency bands, and that's interesting, but the real issue matters is like, okay, what does it do for RF coverage or radio coverage? How's it gonna get improved, the coverage in the area? Right now, the village of Highland Falls has got a lot of coverage problems, a lot of, areas which you're gonna drop your call, you can't make a call. And what we have here is a computer simulation of the existing coverage for the village of Highland Falls. And right here, the colors are interesting, but basically where you see no color is where there's a primary lack of actual RF coverage. Doesn't mean that, perfectly there's no coverage, but it's, the computer simulation shows that we basically have a pretty big gap. And you say, okay, the first step, the Drew Ave site, right up here. Looking at this plot versus the Drew Ave site, you can see an improvement that was occurred. There are some colors put in showing that there is additional coverage that's supplied by the Drew Ave site. And I think that's around 60 feet tall for the tower, for the pole. Now, the second site that was being proposed is the Schneider Avenue site, which is this building right here, putting the antennas on the roof. And with that, it actually has this additional coverage that's here. So between Drew Ave and Schneider Ave, we've got a good portion of the village covered, but the southern part is not. The third site that comes in play, just to make life easy, is the DPW site. When you have Drew, Schneider, and the DPW site, you've got most of the village covered. And that was, based on terrain and everything else, that's what we figure is the best solution. And in reviewing what Verizon proposed for their design, it makes sense. I think that it's a reasonable design for trying to approach and improve the coverage for the village itself. Now, one thing, another report that they created and I reviewed was the EMF emission, the electromagnetic emission levels that come out from the site. And this is something that needs to be done on an all-time basis. Verizon has to be in compliance of FCC guidelines for EMF emissions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not a one-time deal or anything else. They have to be in compliance all the time. I reviewed the RF compliance report provided by Verizon, or rather the firm that they hired, it was SiteSafe that actually did the report, went through it. And there is an FCC guideline that actually defines what the emission levels are that you're supposed to have. And the report clearly indicated that it was, the site is in compliance with EMF levels coming from it. And in fact, it was basically less than 1% on the ground for the entire site. And it was very good. So.
Less than 1% of what?
Of what you're allowed. Of what you're allowed. And.
That's pretty good.
And that's typical for most of these cell sites, is that they have a very low emission level anyway. But the guidelines are there that they have to meet. And the federal rules, and it's required by Verizon as part of the license that they have to meet EMF emissions. They have to be below the threshold. It's not a debatable thing. It's not something that somebody says, hey, can I do it or can't I? They have to as part of the license. There's no way around it. So I did review that. Went back and forth a little bit with Mr. Crosby. We had a nice chat. And there was nothing wrong with the report. And I always challenge something when I look at a report. You can always ask a question or two. And I went back, and the reports clearly shows the site's in compliance of FCC guidelines. And they clearly show also with the RF coverage that the addition of the DPW site feathers in very well with the Schneider Avenue and Drew sites location for the village of Highland Falls.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
No,
I can't ask you a
no,
question?
no, I said, listen, let me say something. Please sit.
It's not a
Mr.
comment,
Smith, for
it's a
minute.
question.
Let me say something. For a year now, these village board meetings have been tough. It's like the Jerry Springer show. It isn't all us, and it's not all anyone in particular in the audience tonight or any other night. But because of everything we know about the last year of village board meetings, I have to come up with guidelines. My guidelines are no different than most municipalities. My guidelines are no different than the planning board, the local planning board, the local zoning board, or the town board. It's just that, my opinion, that when folks go to those three boards, they obey the rules. For some reason, they don't here. That's fine. It's not fine, but what am I gonna do about it? Other than I need to be respectful, this whole board we need to be respectful to one another. We need to be respectful to the people that come to the meeting. We need to be respectful to the folks that are watching at home, or anyone else that lives here. In the beginning, I said, if anyone had a question, you could ask it now, but then that would be your question. Now, I bring that up because now you want to ask another question. And Cole Paul she gets out of hand. She's passionate about whatever she's passionate about, and I guess that's good. I'm passionate about things that I'm passionate about. I do know that she's costing this community hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's 23 lawsuits here. Not good. Sharon, I can't do it. I gotta obey my own rules that I tell you to obey.
I
And that's-
understand,
no,
but
And
I
that, no,
want
but
you to
see,
be-
now, here we go.
I want you to be respectful of the people in the audience.
Thank you.
If you knew that he was gonna give information that we didn't
I
already
said
have.
it. I said it. I said it.
You said what?
I said that these two were gonna speak, but if anyone wanted to ask a question now,
But you
before.
said we could say something afterwards also.
No, I didn't, no, that's not what I said.
pretty
I
sure
said the
that's what you
opposite of
said.
that. Does anyone that hasn't spoken yet have a question for either our village attorney or for our consultant? This guy is good, yes, go ahead, sir. Just up here, just come up here and, please.
Can you address, you have a fault, 27 May. Can you address the difference, is there a radiation emission that comes from these towers? Is that different from the EMF that your electromagnetic force? Is there a surveillance requirement for that, or this routine?
A lot of times the word RF and EMF are interchanged. It's part of what we do, but electromagnetic force is an RF signal. It's the same thing when they talk about it. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question or not directly.
So what the people are asking, I mean, I'm not part of that, but what they're asking for is like a radiation survey, like a nuclear engineer?
This is non-ionizing. This is non-ionizing, and yes, a report is written, and it was created, that's what I commented on, about the EMF compliance report that Verizon put together. It was through SiteSafe, but regardless, Verizon has to generate it, and that was reviewed.
So that's been addressed,
That has.
and that's continually addressed.
They have to be in compliance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from now to as long as they keep the site there.
That's a good question, and we talked about that downstairs. And, no, you're already, is there any other questions? Okay, so to the board, the resolution.
Had nothing to do with what this
Yeah,
gentleman.
how about Verizon, do you have anything?
Sure, I'll make it.
Okay.
Verizon, great. The one that did the survey to tell us how safe we're gonna be. The one who's putting up the tower.
So well, Scott Olson, on behalf of Verizon Wireless, and I just want to read something very briefly from the Site Safe report. And that is prepared by an independent licensed professional engineer. They have an obligation to the public first. And I understand that people may have concerns about safety. This demonstrates that we are less than 100% of that which we are legally entitled to emit. So we don't have a need to pump it up at all, but we are less than 1% of that which the government says we can do. Actually, so I won't read that because that's what I was going to say. But the other important thing to note is that once we demonstrate that, it's no state, no local municipality can do anything about it. There's a federal statute in place that says Once there's a demonstration of full compliance with FCC, emission regulations, it's a non-issue, and there are no health effects. And that's come straight from the FCC. If anybody has an issue with a health effect, they really shouldn't be addressing this board. They should be petitioning the FCC, because they have sole and exclusive jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so to the board, I would ask that the resolution by the Board of Trustees resolve to grant immunity to facilities proposed by Verizon Wireless and the town of Highlands for the requirements in the village code, including 240-29V5. Is there a motion?
Do you want to go through it?
If you would like us to.
Yeah, I think it's a
Okay,
good idea.
okay, thank you.
All right, so what you're asking your board to consider now is whether or not to exempt the town from the village zoning law. And in order to do that, you would have to find under your own local code that the construction of the DPW monopole is beneficial to the village, and that benefit to the village outweighs the potential detriment of not following the zoning law. And in order to do that, the Court of Appeals has developed what is commonly known as the Monroe Balancing Test, and has to do a court case that was brought up to the Court of Appeals in 1988. And so what you do is you go through 9 factors, and for each factor you decide whether or not the benefit to the village outweighs the detriment to the detriment of not going through the zoning. So the first thing I would note is, why don't we just go through these factors? I put them together in a resolution form for your consideration. You can adopt this resolution as is, you can modify it, you can deny it. It's completely up to this board. All right, so first to begin with, you were given detailed plans. You were given all of the analysis that Verizon provided of this site. It was all on the website, so anyone could look at it. You've had your village engineer look at it, and you've also had your RF expert look at it and confirm that the material presented is in fact truthful to the best of their knowledge. And you've heard from your RF expert here tonight, as well as before. So the first point, the first factor is the nature and scope of the instrumentality seeking immunity, and that merely says, who's asking for this immunity? In this case, it is the town. Again, the town owns the property, and the town is the entity that would be constructing this monopole, but it is in the village. And therefore, without an exemption, they're subject to the zoning law. So that's the first point, and that just establishes who's asking for it. In this case, it's the town. The second, the encroaching government's legislative grant of authority. And that just says, look, the town has its own authority, but in the village, there's a presumption that they are subject to your zoning law, unless you exempt them under the Monroe Balancing Test, and you have specifically identified that in your local zoning as 240-29V2.1C. And the reason you did this was because there have been other instances that I am personally familiar with where another municipality says, I own property in, I'm the town, I own property in a village, I don't want to follow their zoning law, so I'm going to exempt myself. And because the Monroe, the case that decided Monroe didn't really say who did that, you didn't want another municipality jumping the gun and exempting itself, and then you would have a fight in the courts. All right. The third is the kind of land or use that's involved, and in this case, Verizon is considered a public utility. There's federal law that governs you or anybody else's authority over what they can put up. As long as they are below the emission levels, there is, you cannot, and the town cannot deny the monopole based on health reasons, okay? So, the other thing you would decide is whether or not the proposed land use is intensive. This is an already developed site. It's a DPW site. There's no clearing that's involved. They're putting up a 65-foot monopole if the town actually decides to do that. The fourth factor, the effect local land use regulation would have upon the enterprise concern. Here, would not exempt, the question is, would not exempting them from the code be more protective of the village? So what you've heard is, what you know is it's already a developed site. They're not clearing anything. They're putting up a monopole that you have already determined are below the levels required by the FCC. And the town will also make that determination before they sign any contracts, if in fact they move forward. So sending them to the planning board, is that going to be more protective of the village or less protective? It would certainly delay that coverage gap being closed by at least a year or longer. And it could jeopardize the installation altogether. Are there alternative locations for the facility? Well, this board knows that for the past 4 years or so, you've been looking at alternative locations. Homeland Towers wanted to put a site, I think, at the wastewater treatment plant.
The village DPW
The
site.
village DPW. You looked at that and you decided no, because you needed that property. So that was not a good site. You also looked at the water site, the water tower site.
Yes.
Again, that didn't work. So it's not as if you have not been looking at alternative locations, because you, the village board, have. And in fact, you've determined 2, and now this would be the 3rd. And even if you exempt the town, it doesn't mean that they're gonna put this monopole up.
I've been working with Verizon for a long time now for other sites, and they would go out into the field, I don't know who, Mr. Scott, they would go out in the field and come back with the information, good information, and said that water tank's is not the right place, etc., for different reasons.
And I think you had Mr. Smith also confirm
Yeah,
that.
yes.
Because I know you went out and said locations.
When Verizon tells me something, I give it to Mr. Clinton. And I got it.
So the impact on legitimate local interests. The local interest here is that there are gaps that have been confirmed by your RF expert. This is a reasonable place to put a mono tower that would fill those gaps. Whether or not the town does it is up to the town. If they don't, the village will have to continue looking, because you will have that gap. Are there alternative methods? Again, you've looked at other places, you've looked at other ways to do this. I know personally that you've been in discussion with not just Verizon, but Homeland Towers and Dish, I believe. So this seemed to be the most recent, once it came to this board's knowledge from the town, and then you looked at it, it was recognized that this was a good place for it. And the extent of the public interest to be served by the exemption.
Could you speak more loudly so everyone could hear? Sure. Thank you.
So the extent, the 8th factor is the extent that the public interest would be served by the exemption itself. And again, we go back to a gap in coverage that is existing now and would be filled by this monopole, in addition to the other two sites that this board has already approved. And also, there have been instances where emergency services were not, this board wasn't able to even call out when you had an emergency up there, a very dire health emergency. So I think that's all been considered, and I know this board has discussed it amongst themselves. And finally, intergovernment participation in the project development process and an opportunity to be heard. The village board, as I said, although you're the only agency that can actually exempt any other municipality from your zoning law, any action that the town takes from this point forward, because the property's in the village, you are an interested agency. So you can comment on whatever they are doing, and those comments have to be put in the record of whatever action they take. So the board has had this resolution to look at, and I would ask if there are any changes to it, any questions about it, anything the board would like added or taken out. And then it would be up to you whether or not you would adopt it or not adopt it.
Jim?
I would just like to add in section 8, where it says the extent of the public interest to be served by the improvements.
Okay, let me get to that.
Page 7.
Okay.
I believe we're missing that in addition to demonstrating the need for the facility at this location, Verizon Wireless has provided a site compliance report from the facility prepared by Site Safe,
Yeah.
which I believe you referred to as being an independent engineer, right? Do we need that verbiage in there?
You can certainly add that.
So it's an independent New York State licensed professional engineer.
Is that correct?
That would be correct.
The site compliance report confirms that the proposed facility will fully comply with existing FCC rules and regulations governing human exposure to RF electromagnetic fields. In fact, the site compliance report provides that with the proposed Verizon wireless antenna configuration and service, the composite exposure, am I saying that right?
Yes, you are.
From this facility in all areas of ground level will be below 1% of the general public MPE limit, or over 100 times less than the maximum allowed exposure in public accessible areas. I just want the public to hear that again, and it to be in the minutes, and that the board understands that.
Anything else? I would just note that one other thing, I know there has been some concern that this monopole would be visible from Ballfield. But as we looked at pages 9 and 10 of the visual resource, it is not. And it is not even a new thought. So if you wish for me to add something in there about that, that would likely go in.
I had to put a red arrow because you couldn't even do
It's right there, you can't see it, right where the red arrow is. That's Roe Park, softball field.
Okay, so I think that there should be something about that in section 6.
Sure.
Which is impact on legitimate local.
Yes, we should
interests.
refer to this, yes.
Okay.
That's a good point.
They care about the looks, but not about that.
Okay.
Just a comment before we vote, okay? I agree that we need this technology, right? This is a needed technology. I think even Bobby said that. You know, she's not against cell towers. A lot of people are not against cell towers. We need this for growth. Okay, and I believe that we're below the radiation levels that are emitted. 1%, I believe the studies. I think the only thing that is going to keep me from voting on this, and which is what the people want, is that they want make sure that there's clarity on that contract between the town and Verizon. Not a 25-year contract without reviews periodically to get it renewed, number one. And number two, that they're assured that there's actually random radiation testing in between that is reported to the public. And
Not by
that's what I
Verizon.
would say. I would think that, before we grant an exemption, maybe to have that clarity in the contract between the town and Verizon.
Certainly that recommendation can be made to the town, and I think by you stating that on the record, that the town should be aware of that. The town, of course, will, it's their contract,
I know.
as you rightly,
Could you take this up with Justin?
I will let Justin know.
Specifically that?
Well, Justin has received all of those comments as well, because
Okay.
he sent them to me.
Could we touch base with him to see,
I will
maybe he'll let us know how the town is feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly,
Okay, that's
I'm sure
really good.
Justin will have to.
That's really good. Sir, did you, Mr. Olson, did you want to say?
Well, I was just gonna reiterate that, again, it's a contractual issue between the town and Verizon.
Right.
So, but we can certainly take that up with the town. Well, in terms of the lease length though, the lease length really can't be changed. It just becomes an issue of, we won't go into a 5-year lease because we can't recover the cost it takes to build it. So yeah, so for sites like these, they require numerous 5-year renewal terms.
It's just a 60-foot pole, right? How much does that cost?
Okay, so I would ask the board now to consider page 8, the last paragraph, that the village board of trustees resolves that to grant immunity to the facilities proposed by Verizon Wireless and the town of Highlands for the requirements of the village code, including 240-295.
I would just make that change to grant immunity to the town.
Where is that change?
It's the village board of trustees resolves to grant immunity to the town of Highlands from the applicable requirements for the proposed Verizon Wireless. So that's specifically why you would be granting this immunity, not just a general grant of immunity to Verizon, but to the town for
For
the
this
sole purpose
specific
of
item,
this.
issue, project.
Zoning.
I agree. Gina, do you have that, or? I got it, okay, I understand. Motion. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
I'm going to abstain until I get the contract clarification.
Abstention is a no.
Trustee Alward? Trustee Alward?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries, thank you. Thank you. Let's do follow-up with Justin.
I will, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Next on the agenda is to complete the probation of water maintenance worker Pablo Pulido effective December 23, 2022.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
You have it?
Yes, DeSalvo, Phillips?
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the recommendation to complete the probation of police officer Tyler Vecchio, effective December 21. Everything okay here? Everything all right?
Motion. Well,
Okay, I got it, I'm sorry. I have to complete the probation of police officer Tyler Vecchio, effective December 21, 2022.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Did he move it?
Brian, I'm sorry, is there a second? Jim, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next in your packet, you have a resolution pertaining to John Jones's position. You have it there. If this passes, John will be provisional upon taking the test, when the county determines the test will be given. And then from after being notified, the county notifying the village of his passing of the test, if I'm correct, will be his probation period. Correct?
Yes.
So, yes,
I'd just like to point out, in the top of that,
yes,
you're rescinding the motion from 12.5 and replacing it with this
that's right.
to clarify his job description, basically.
That's
And
right.
his, you know, what his job, what he's gonna be doing under this title.
This was drafted, worked up by our labor attorney, and we followed the SA supervisor's contract agreement to the letter. So whatever was in that particular negotiated contract with the SA is identically in here. So nothing, this is exactly as we know it. No
So
surprises.
so everybody knows, this contract gives him $115,655 a year to be promoted to the superintendent position. It's a lot of money, okay? And again, I've argued this at the last meeting. This is not the position we need. We don't need a superintendent for a six-figure salary. We need a DPW supervisor for a $70,000 salary. Almost half that pay.
Any other comments from the board?
Just to state to the public that this is covering two positions.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We're covering two positions,
That being,
sewer plant and DPW.
Right, which has not been done well in the past 5 years. There's a historical record, and this was at your last meeting that I watched that I wasn't in, right? Even the water tower, going to cost us another $70,000 just to power wash it, right, with chemicals.
we don't
to
know
keep
how-
it clean, because we just spent $35,000 for cutting all the trees around it, which wasn't maintained by DPW in the past 5 years that he was in charge.
Well, just to reiterate, those trees have been there a lot longer than the 5 years that they were supposed to work on.
That's
So
right.
we've been through that before, so they've
And they
been
could have
there.
been trimmed,
Right.
Not,
but
not,
it's not
not
like
with
that.
70-foot trees cannot be trimmed.
And we have not approved the $70,000 cleaning of the tanks yet. That was a proposed idea of what it could cost. We don't know what it's gonna
yeah, you're
cost.
checking out.
And we're looking into to see if we can do it ourselves safely.
but the point is that if that was done annually by DPW, that we wouldn't even be looking at this cost right now. In any event, I think I keep repeating myself about this position. Six-figure salary, $115,000 for a promotion, when you can actually have a supervisor in each of the different departments for not that kind of money. And do it right.
It's just not accurate, so I'm not gonna argue with you, but it's just not accurate.
Yes.
We can't even find people, we can't even hire laborers right now because we're getting outpriced by everybody. So we are covering two spots with one salary.
We've been doing that illegally for the past 5 years.
It was done illegally by the previous
Certified
administration. We just followed suit. You're right, we corrected it, and now we're fixing it permanently. I'd like to move the
That's not
resolution.
accurate.
That
That's
is
not
most
accurate.
certainly accurate.
Okay, the
Okay.
last time,
I'd like to make the motion to move
that
the
was 4
resolution
years
forward.
ago.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
You have the motion?
Yes.
Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero,
No, favors for friends.
trustee Alward,
Yes.
trustee DeSalvo,
Yes.
trustee Phillips.
Yes.
Mayor Denofrio.
I'm not hesitating to vote no, I'm going to vote yes, but, yes, motion carries, thank you so much. All right, next on the agenda, authorize the mayor to sign a certification of the Community Water System Emergency Response Plan in compliance with the American Water Infrastructure Act of 2018. This is a document that we'll give to the EPA.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries, thank you so much. Okay, next we have an event coming up next Monday, a week from today, Martin Luther King Parade and Service on the 16th of January from Cousins Avenue, where we'll meet, we do every year, to Memorial Park. We should be there around 10:30. We do have an event form, and we do have the insurance?
Yes, on the back.
We have the insurance, okay, it's on the
They started Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart. What?
We're gonna change the 16th because Martin Luther King.
Yeah, I got that, I'm okay. Okay, so I'll just do it,
It starts in
yeah.
front of Sacred Heart Church and then go to Memorial. Did you?
Yes,
Okay.
that's okay. Cousins Avenue, I think I said because I'm reading from my paperwork. Starts at Sacred Heart like it does every year. We'll march down Main Street and we'll go to Memorial Park. So we have a motion, we have a second.
Oh, we do? Do it? Okay.
You all set?
We had the motion?
Yeah, we have a motion. Brian, second by Jim. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion. I think it's easy. Okay. Mr. Howard reminded me that because next Monday, this village board meeting, these meetings, the last couple have been out of sorts because of the holidays. We were supposed to meet last Monday, but that was a holiday. Anyway, our next meeting is the 16th, according to, the rules here. And next Monday, as I just said, is Martin Luther King, which is a federal holiday. And so I would like to have the meeting on, if you want to, we have the meeting on the 17th of January instead of Monday, because it's a holiday. Right here, 7 p.m. So could we reschedule that meeting with a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
I won't be here.
Okay, that's okay, I understand. Motion carries. Okay. Not on the agenda is a couple of items that came in very late. We've been advertising for a planning board member, and went out and sought a couple of folks that we thought might be very good. For one reason or another, they can't at this time serve, but Mr. Titolo, James Titolo has stepped up and would like to have the appointment on the planning board, the consolidated planning board. May I have a motion?
Make a motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carried. I think I'm... You're gonna bring up the electric charges? Oh. No, not yet, but you are, right?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Okay.
Unless you want. You want to?
No. Okay, I have a letter here to read. Again, this came in, it's not on the printed agenda, but I'll read it. It's to the mayor and to the board. It's from our chief, Dwyer, dated today, the 9th of January, 2023. Please accept my letter of resignation as the police chief of Highland Falls, effective 15th of February 2023 at the end of my tour of duty. I believe this is enough time for you to start your canvass for another police chief. I am grateful and honored for the opportunity you have given me, and I have thoroughly enjoyed working with the dedicated police officers and dispatchers at the Highland Falls Police Department. Thank you for allowing me
You're just looking at the agenda.
Thank you for allowing me to protect and serve the Village of Highland Falls. Even though it has been a short period of time, it has been my privilege working with you and for you. May I have a motion to regretfully accept this resignation?
I'll make a motion regretfully.
May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All in favor? Oh, you have a question?
Do we need to discuss this at all in executive session?
That's unbelievable, right? It's less than 6 months.
You cannot discuss it in public.
Yeah, no, we'd have to go into executive session, and if you want to go in, we can go in.
Well, what does the board want?
I agree. We should go in.
We can't discuss our regret.
You can say, that's
Yeah,
fine,
regretfully, you can say that.
Right.
but you cannot discuss.
No, we're not going to.
Discuss what, why she resigned? I don't even know why, yeah.
Well,
This is a
if you
surprise.
think you know, you can't discuss it.
No, yeah, no, this is a surprise.
No, let's
This-
get, let's.
I don't want to, I just wanted to ask one quick question, but it's all right.
No, I'll take them, I read the letter, it has not been accepted, and I will go in, take a motion for executive session and come out and possibly vote on that letter.
Make a motion.
Motion to
Second,
go into
second.
executive session, is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Jim, all in favor?
yes.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you very much. If you want to wait,
Won't take, I got one question. It'll take 2 seconds.
In the back.
I have literally one quick question.
Why don't we go in the
Well,
back?
yeah, I don't,
motion to
Oh, you're okay?
Make a-
We're going back, it's good executive
Back
back.
into Monroe. This is Monroe down. No, these two different.
Yeah, right there.
They're back in session, Bobby.
I want to tell you what we wanted to.
They're gonna sit down.
I'm going to
Make a motion.
No, not yet.
come out of executive session.
Yes, that's what I want right now.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we're back into regular meeting. I read a letter by the chief resigning. She did put in there till February 15th, but let the minutes show that the board will decide her ending date.
Well, you can't force her to work if she's.
Huh? No, but, no, I'm going the other way around.
Oh, okay,
Of course not.
okay. All right.
Okay, so
You understand, Gina?
make a motion with regret? Is that what you wanted, Nolan? To accept the resignation letter?
I already made that motion.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. Second. I guess Mr. Phillips made the motion to accept the letter. I'm seconding
To
it.
accept the letter.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Public comment.
Norman DeYoung. I was just wondering what's going on, I might be missing something. I was just wondering what's going on with the banks. Are they doing anything with North, where, any of that one and the other one? Anybody know? I mean, I haven't heard
Well, that
anything.
bank is for sale.
Yeah, what about this one up here?
I have no word on that. Maybe the planning or zoning board might know. I
Nobody
wish.
said nothing, okay.
I really don't.
Can't seem to get an update.
Again, okay. Just
And
wondering.
even the church,
Yeah, I know,
even the church.
all right, because a lot of people have been asking,
Yep.
so,
She's the
We
only
do
one.
too.
and nobody can get an answer.
Ask all the time we do,
Yeah,
like really all the time.
all right,
Okay.
all right, thanks.
Yes.
Hi, Pablo Pulido, work for the Water Department. As you guys know, I took a trip to Buffalo on one of the last meetings, because it's been so many different meetings already. I've been trying to get the right information to see if I can get my pay for my miles, which we end up to the conclusion, and Gary over here knows the amount of money, and I give him a voucher. I just would like you to see if you want to vote on it. It's $177.80 that is owed.
Okay.
I would like you to vote on.
Public comment. Okay, well.
Oh, it's a public comment? No.
Yeah, that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, but I would like to have an answer.
I can't give you the answer. It goes against right now, what we've done in the past.
To me, it's kind of very difficult to understand that you guys can raise somebody's salary on $30,000 on 5 minutes, and you cannot reimburse me $177 with 80 cents. It's really, Johnny Jones, he got a good chunk of money, and you decide that in 5 minutes over here in front of everybody. Anyhow, that's one of the comments. The second comment is this, and I want to correct you, Mr. Donofrio, that you say that Jack Sibley pissed you off when he didn't put the meter over there at the lake, round pond. Well, you're incorrect. Because me and Jack went over there in a boat and put it up on September. September, October, November, December, and 2 days ago, your remarks were really upsetting.
I'll take this up with Mr. Sibley, not
Yeah,
you.
well,
Is there anyone else?
the remarks were upsetting.
Don't get upset, it's not worth it.
Oh, you are the one that got pissed off, not me.
Come on,
You were pissed
come
off.
on, he's done.
Good evening, Board. Just want to piggyback on Mr. DeYoung's question or concern. And I know this board was involved with getting the parking situation done with the old Penn Fed area. And if you could just give us an update when you get it, or if you have it now, it would be great.
Say that again?
The parking issue, remember they were looking to rent some spaces.
Oh, there's no update, there's no update.
Fine.
Steady spaces.
He's never signed the parking agreement.
Perfect. So that
I have
was,
nothing to give.
yeah, so that's all I was looking for. Thanks so much.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
Oh, comment, yeah.
Take it back?
Yeah.
Take it back, go ahead, sorry.
You want me to start?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So about a month ago, I mentioned that many people, to include myself, didn't realize that elections here in the village were not run by Orange County, but run by us ourselves. So I want to make sure that the elections are conducted fairly in the spirit of democracy. So I would like to make the following motion. And this is after reviewing it with NICOM. I move for the adoption of the following resolution, that number one, all village elections after April 1st, 2023 be conducted by Orange County Board of Elections. And that number two, this proposition be put on the March 2023 election ballot. Is there any second?
I'll second that.
Brian seconded.
I'm sorry, can you tell me what it is again?
To adopt the resolution that village elections be run by Orange County Board of Elections, and that this proposition be put as a permissive referendum for a vote by the people on the March election ballot.
I don't think that what I'm going to say right now means much, because I don't know the reasons. If my information is correct, when we were talking about this, only 2 villages in Orange County do it. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean they're wrong at all. I was just wondering why most don't do it. Do you know why?
I don't. But
To
I mean,
prevent cheating.
if you want to,
To prevent cheating.
well, the county board of elections certifies the results anyway, so, after we turn it over to them, after we okay it, or not we, the clerk. If we're gonna put it on the ballot, then I would just let the public decide. I don't think we need to vote on it, like I would. Is it 2 different is it 2 different resolutions, or are you
No.
requesting to you're just requesting to put it on the ballot?
Yes.
You made, I'm sorry, you made a motion?
Yes.
Okay, you seconded it? Okay.
I just don't, do we need to do anything else, or, I mean, we don't have anything in writing, or I don't know, I'm okay with it, I think, but I would just wanna see,
No, you adopt the resolution and then.
I don't have any resolution, I have nothing, I'm just.
That's right, you adopt it and then Gina would have to put it out in public 10 days and then.
Will we have enough time to get it on the ballot?
I don't know what even really how the resolution reads. I don't have a copy of anything in front of me to.
What you would want to see is a copy of what's supposed to be put on the ballot.
Exactly.
And that's what you're, first of all, do you want it put on the ballot? Are you even considering that? Secondly, what is it exactly that gets put on the ballot?
Yeah, I don't know, that's,
Right,
I don't necessarily have a problem with the pump.
The wording should be the wording should be put on a ballot, so I would need to
Right.
see that.
Well, Gina can't make up what's going to go on the ballot. You have to tell her exactly what to put on the ballot. In order to tell her exactly what to put on the ballot, you have to know exactly what the wording is that goes on the ballot.
All right.
And
Yes.
And the
can I
cost
ask,
of any cost that's associated, I don't know.
Right, so I've asked NICOM this, and I mentioned it last year, and they said you have to bring this up after January 1st in order for it to go to the March election ballot. And what you do, which is exactly what I did tonight, is you adopt a resolution, okay, just like we did for dissolution, right? And then you put together, after 10 days of us saying we're gonna adopt a resolution, you know, allowing, subject to a permissive referendum, that after April 1st, 2023, that the Orange County Board of Elections run the elections in the village and not just the village itself, and that this question be put on the March 2023 election ballot.
so, I see I'm trying to understand what you're saying. This election is still to be run by the village, the March, but you want a resolution, a proposition put on the ballot of this election that future elections will be run by the county.
Correct.
And not the village.
And, okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. That's the board decision.
Okay, so there's a motion to do that, and there's a second to do that.
Motion by trustee Guerrero, and the second was by Brian,
Yes.
and
Just,
Now you have to vote on it.
well, just a quick question. So we're gonna work up this is just okay to work up the resolution. Am I saying, am I hearing that correctly? 'Cause we don't have the exact verbiage, right?
I think,
I don't-
well, I mean, I don't know what else you would need to say other than you would have to noodle it a little bit, but yeah, you would have to work up the actual verbiage that would be put on the ballot.
I'm just seeing if we have time, if we still have time, if we did it on the 17th, that's all. You know, if we approved it on 17th. I'm looking at the schedule.
When does it have to get on, when does it have to?
before that the ballots are made up, which will happen anytime after petitions are signed
Yes, we
and
have-
brought in. So
Okay,
you have a
so-
little bit of time, you have about a month before that happens. But obviously, the sooner the better to have it before the board approved, so that we understand what's gonna be on it. So even if it's just one more week, if you're meeting on the 17th, we can have that resolution formally drawn up with the wording the way you want it and presented at that meeting.
Did you want me to write the resolution?
No,
No.
we can get that done, but I'm just asking to you, so instead of tonight motioning and passing that, I will work that so that that resolution is available on the 17th meeting. You'll be able to look and read it and see, yes, that's exactly what I want
simple
for the board to approve.
I'm okay with
And we'll do it at the 17th meeting, and it'll be officially written up.
Oh, that's not how they, NICOM explained it to me. We
Oh,
adopt the
I can
resolution
call
and then,
NICOM and
Right.
maybe- I can call NICOM and.
But it's still for the board to approve, just what you said, but no one has a document in front of them actually reading what it is you're looking to do. I understand by what you said. I'd like the board, usually a resolution, just like this resolution tonight was put before you, it's filled out, and everyone can read it and see what it says before they vote on it. You are
Let's get-
verbally giving them something, and I think it would be helpful if it's written out for them all to read, and you have agreed this is exactly what I mean. That's
okay,
all.
so who is putting the resolution together to
I'll
be
work with
voted on?
NICOM to make sure it's done for the next meeting.
She's gonna do it.
Well, like,
Yeah, NICOM said we adopt the resolution tonight, and then you write up exactly what I said to be put on.
I think you
for
can do
public,
it at the
but-
same time next week.
Yes.
You can do it next week with the resolution. I think it's good practice for the board to vote on something that they actually see and read and review. prior to voting.
Okay, so we'll have a resolution that you will draft up for us to
Yes,
adopt.
and you'll be able to look at it
For
before
next
the meeting.
meeting.
You'll be able to see it before the meeting.
It's
so
a very
you-
simple question, right? Okay.
Okay,
That's
so the
seven.
motion, so the motion, so Jada, and you know this, just, the motion will be withdrawn that was made.
Okay.
And then we'll,
And
discussion
put
was,
it on the agenda,
discussion.
because the other thing is the public had no
yeah,
idea
discussion was held,
this was
and,
gonna come up tonight.
we all agree that we would like to see it on the agenda next Tuesday, the 17th of January. Okay, which is still good, it'll pass, and then it'll be on the ballot in March.
Okay, the second motion is for the EV chargers. I think the EV chargers, I mentioned also at the last meeting, instead of us paying for the electricity that everybody's charging on, there's a company who's actually going to put up EV chargers that they will maintain, they will pay for, and even give us a 10% of their profit. It's Green Spot. I sent the contracts to everybody already for their review. We talked about it last board meeting, and the question was, is there a non-compete clause with the other chargers that are in existence? There isn't. So I'd like to make a motion for us to go into an agreement with Green Spot JC LLC to install, manage, and operate replacement charging stations on municipal lot 1.
Okay, Elise?
I'll second the motion.
So we have a second, Jada, but before we vote, I have a question. So I misunderstood, and we talked about this today. I thought it was 2 new chargers down in the parking lot behind Town Hall.
Okay.
We have 2 up here across from Sacred Heart. It's to replace those 2 up there across from Sacred Heart, which makes me think, can we do that per the contract we have with
Well, I
them?
think you have a contract that's still in
Yeah,
place for those two.
I
Until some time, until, I think there's another year or 2 on it.
We gave you that
I thought
contract.
you were adding.
I
you were
misunderstood.
adding.
No,
I didn't
it's my fault, I misunderstood.
Can't add it?
We can add 2 more, we can put 2 down there that she's talking about. Those 2 have to stay there, because I think,
And you just would not renew the
Now-
contract.
now what you can
Those
do
two.
is you can take these 2 and put them next to those 2.
Yeah,
Can do that
let's do
too.
that.
I think that would be better because it's visible.
I don't think we can get rid of those per contract,
No.
but I can't tell you that for sure.
So let's
I
just-
mean,
So let's go with this, let's go with them to be put in lot number 2,
Okay.
next to
and
the
then
current
you would
ones.
just not renew.
No, we can keep
Those.
those, we can keep those other ones, 'cause we're gonna put a
We're
meter
putting
on.
meters on those other two?
They come with it.
No, I'm not talking about the 2 new ones,
No,
the 2 old ones.
we're just
putting
waiting.
meters.
Yes, I spoke to
Okay.
John Jones today
Okay.
and told him he's gotta put a push on
All right.
getting that gadget, whatever it is.
Right.
So people have to swipe their
Because they're
card.
gonna be
Then
fighting
you would
for
have
those 2.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna-
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so you're okay?
Yes,
So,
and they're okay with that, actually.
we would like, let's do a motion that you follow through with this company to bring in 2 more electric chargers.
Okay.
This company is called
A green spot.
Green Spot.
Excuse me, I'll second that.
Jim seconded, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else?
Just thank you to the Center of Highland Falls, okay? They have a community coalition meeting again, January 11th. They disseminate mental health and substance abuse information to all. There's gonna be pop-up events at the high school, February, March, and April. The Chamber of Commerce had a very successful breakfast with Santa last year. And the tree lighting for the kids got rained out, but Charlene actually donated all the goods to the fire department. So it all went to good use. The center, the chamber, the vision, the environmental committee, they just do really good work. They really bring the community together. They're doing it for free. They're volunteering for the success of the community. So thank you for a good 2022, and I hope this year is going to be just as successful. So lastly, the building department, they had 18 permit applications received and 16 permits issued. They also issued 6 certificates of compliance. They had 17 fire safety inspections. They had 33 building permit inspections. And Phil Hannibal actually took time to update me in depth this morning on 3 main violations different buildings in the village that we're working on. It's really taking time. He's really doing a good job.
Did he mention as one of the three, the building down here used to be the flower shop? Did he mention that one?
It did not, yes.
That is the biggest eyesore on Main Street. It really, really is. It's a shame. It's a shame. Okay, but,
I think we have a tenant, that's right.
yeah, yes, I agree, I agree. Brian?
Okay. As police commissioner, I have my regrets. I enjoyed working with the chief. I thought she brought some needed changes, and I'll leave it at that. On Christmas Day, we had a leak on Church Street in Cousins, and people were out there on Christmas Day. So I think they started at 5, what time, 5:30?
Yeah, we told us about 4:30, but it started 5:30.
5:30. It was cold. Some people are talking to me about leaves. We're going to look at the leaves, not look at them, we're gonna pick them up as long as there's no snow on the ground. We don't give out a schedule because we didn't know that there was gonna be a leak on Christmas Day. If we give a schedule and then we get leaks or something, emergency comes up, then I'm hearing, well, you promised to come on this street, but you didn't. So we're extending picking up leaves as long as the snow doesn't fly. The center, we moved. I don't know if everybody knows that. We left up here across from Chase next to the insurance, and we're going straight down south in the first building where the tattoo parlor used to be, and Dee's place was there. So we're moving, and we'll get in allegedly the first week of February.
No. Down here next to the empty lot.
Oh,
Yeah, that's where we're moving to. That's it.
Thank you. Gary?
As Brian said, there was a water leak last Christmas Day, and thank you guys. I know it was cold and everything. Brian came out there and, oversaw it, and, so I was, appreciate it. But Bog Meadows at 79%. Last report I received from Jack. They repaired the road on the entrance on Bog Meadow. It washed out with heavy rain on the 23rd of December. It'll help with the highway department. They filled it in, put a whole bunch of item 4 you guys put down there, or item 4 in there and everything. It's been pretty decent weather, so and you guys have been doing a really good job. And just because we are nice weather and we are at 79% for Bog Meadow, please just still be diligent with your water use. We're not using bog right now, we're still using off the mountain. But I see a couple people out there washing their cars already. I don't get it, but I don't know. But it must be me. I don't know. Maybe I'm cheap. I don't want to pay the water. But anyways, thank you to all you guys, and I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Jim?
Yeah, real quick. And I know Ms. Guerrera was working on this with the building department too on Villa Parkway. I'm working with Sergeant, why can't I think of his name right now? Not Torpy. Ruger. Sergeant Ruger on regards to commercial traffic, commercial parking on village streets. We have a little issue down on Villa Parkway along with the property maintenance issue across the street. I think it's 7 Villa Parkway, I think is the number. So I know you're working with Mr. Hannawalt on that. I did speak with him too, and he said you were working with him on that. But I'm gonna probably bring something, hopefully for the 17th meeting, if not after that, to see what we can do about large commercial vehicles parking on village streets. They're in some spots, a little cumbersome to get around. And then in middle of December, I got in a car accident on Storm King Mountain, and I just want to give a shout out to all the folks who came to support my entrance into the woods. It was the Town of Cornwall PD, the Fort Montgomery Fire Department, the Town of Highlands Ambulance Corps, and I was on my way to a fire department meeting, and it was very nice that the Fort Montgomery Fire Chief was able to drive me to my Highland Falls Fire Department meeting and drop me off. I was fine. The car was not, but I was fine. But it was a nice coalition of emergency services all coming at once. And on that particular day on Storm King Mountain, I was advised that there were 7 car accidents. 7 car accidents, and I was one of them. No, thankfully I was number 7. So, you know, a shout out to all the emergency services that showed up. You know, kudos to them and all of them in the community. Yeah, and I just want to thank them. And also to echo what Ms. Guerrero said, you know, during the community with all the volunteerism on decorating and stuff. Many thanks.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second? Second. Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
That's-